Okay, hello friends. I'm really hoping the audio for this comes through okay. I'm filming with a kind of different setup, but we're gonna see how it goes. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing my yearly goals for 2020. Initially, I was gonna do my goal review in my flip through of my monthly notebook at the same time, but I realized that video was gonna be way too long. So today we're just going to go through yearly goals, which were all in this notebook. I'm going to pull it out from here. So just to recap, I put my yearly goals in this little notebook so that I could use it from year to year, and also so that when my monthly and daily bullet journal filled up, I didn't have to copy everything over into the front of a new notebook. I thought I would use more than one monthly daily notebook this year, but I actually ended up using only one. So this year it wasn't that big of an issue, but most years I would go through like 2 or 3 notebooks at least. And so it was just kind of a pain to redo the yearly setup multiple times throughout the year. But that's what I've got. I've got this. It's just a little Tomoe River paper insert. I think I got this one from Goulet Pens, but there are a couple different brands floating around out there. I started off this notebook with a sort of grid for evenly spacing things in this notebook. I didn't actually end up using it that much, but it's nice to have anyway. And in this video, I'm going to focus on seeing how the goals themselves worked for me, and also measure my progress a little bit. Take some notes for next year, because next on my list after this nice reflection is to actually set new goals. And so I want to make sure I set goals that are gonna be good and achievable, and learn some lessons from what I did this year. So this is my main 2020 goals page. I did kind of color code these. So the coral color is like development projects, pink is for writing, blue is for fitness and health goals, purple was, I think it was kind of a catch-all for other like content-based things, because I have some YouTube and some Skillshare stuff in here. And then gray was for finance goals. So I'm just gonna go from the top here. First goal was to have a sort of personal game jam. I kind of stretched this goal a little bit compared to like the typical definition of a game jam, because usually you do them over like a couple days, not a month. But at the time I was working, when I actually did my game jam, I was not working. But at the time I planned this, I was thinking, oh, I'm never going to have a whole weekend to just do game development work. So I was planning to do 40 hours in 1 month. I didn't actually end up tracking my hours intentionally, but what I did do was do a 30 days of game development on Twitch challenge sort of thing, and I think I ended up getting about 75 streamed hours in game development work, and then I did some more just on my own time. So I definitely just blew past this this goal here. I had a lot of fun. That was actually one of my favorite things I did this year. I got so much done in such a short amount of time, and it really showed me like doing something every day is a very effective sort of process for me. I do really well with like monthly challenges as long as they are achievable. So like if I had planned to do like 8 hours of game development every day, that would have been too much. But I just wanted to stream something every day, and I did, and I got a ton done, and I'm pretty proud of it. And the game I worked on for this challenge was called Project Caribou, working title obviously. And I think I do want to revisit it, try to finish it up, but I got so much done, I'm really proud of it. My second goal was to complete a draft of my Nano 2019 novel. So the novel I wrote the year of 2019 for NaNoWriMo. I actually did start this. I did a lot of work working through my story, rereading it, trying to replot it. Because my first drafts are never very good. I always start off feeling very confident, and then by the time I get to the end, I feel like I have no idea what the story is about. I don't know what I'm doing. The ending is bad. So I always feel like I need to really revisit the story at its core. And then I actually did start writing a second draft, and I got about 30,000 words in. So far, that is the most I've done on a second draft. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't get to it until about October, so by the time I got to that 30,000 words, I ended up switching course and doing NaNoWriMo instead, which is my next goal here. Goal number 3 was write a new novel for NaNoWriMo. I did this. Yeah, I mean, I did it. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I'm less pleased with my NaNoWriMo novel this year than I am most years. I feel like it is a particularly rough draft. I have a lot of really serious plot problems that I'm not sure how to address, and it just feels kind of hodgepodge. So I'm not sure if I even will bother revisiting this one. I might just trunk it. I'm also struggling with some feelings that I kind of get every year near the end of the year, where I'm not sure if I am a writer. I like writing, and I love the idea of having published a novel. I love reading so much that one of my goals has always been to provide that sort of experience to someone else. But as I participate in NaNoWriMo every year, and as I fail to write a second draft, as I struggle so much with the process of creating a story that I'm happy with, I just wonder, like, at what point are my efforts in vain, if that makes sense? Like, I'm not trying to get too down on myself, but I'm just wondering if the energy that I spend trying to be a writer could be better spent on another creative endeavor, like game development, or, making videos, or, whatever else I want to try. And so that's one of the things I'm going to really be digging into as I plan my goals for next year. Okay, the next goal here was my body composition goals. This ended up being way too long-term and too rigid. So I checked off 2 dots on this because I did kind of do both of them. The first one I did, a 10-week cut, was actually pretty on key with what I had planned. I tracked my food intake, I was weightlifting, I was not eating any sugar for about 10 weeks. Actually, I think I cut it down to 8 weeks because I felt like 10 weeks was just too much. And while I did do that successfully, having 2 more like 10-week goals to plan out in the year, it takes up a lot of the year. And I could never have predicted what was going to happen this year to make this challenging. With lockdown and with my layoff and with, the changing landscape of my life, having a goal that consists of basically 30 weeks of kind of concerted effort is just too much. So one of the big things I'm going to take away from this review is that I need to keep my goals shorter term, and I need to focus more on creating goals that can be achieved if the entire year does not go perfectly, because, when has that ever happened? Overall, I'm pretty proud of my progress with this one. I feel like I did really good for the first about 8 weeks of the year, and then I sort of roller coastered up and down with how my nutrition and exercise was going for the rest of the year. But in general, I feel like I did pretty good. For goal 5, I had planned to publish 3 Skillshare courses with the intention of finishing off the web development series that I had started either in 2019 or 2018. I can't remember exactly when I published that first one, but I did 2 courses, and I kind of wrapped it up with that, and I decided I didn't really want to go into more web development because that's not the type of development I want to be putting this energy into. Because teaching something, you have to know it really well. And because I'm not doing web development on a regular basis anymore, it felt like a lot of extra work to develop these lesson plans. So I called 2 good, I checked it off, and I decided to sort of intentionally cancel this last one. I would like to do more Skillshare courses in the future. I find them really rewarding. I still get responses in the discussions of people who have questions, of people who really like the course or have suggestions about how to make it better. But if I do more Skillshare courses, I'll probably either do game development or mobile development, because that's kind of where my focus is now. So if you have any ideas, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll have a look. Okay, this next one. Write 4 short stories. Short stories are really hard, and I do kind of still feel like short stories are the key to sort of getting better at writing for me, like for what I need to work on, which is creating a plot that has like a good arc, building up characters that are unique and interesting. I feel like short stories can really help with a lot of that, but they're just so hard that I am very resistant to writing short stories. I feel a lot more comfortable with longer works because I think it's because I can just sort of dump words out and worry about fixing them later. And I feel like short stories, you have to be a lot more intentional about it, which is good and also a little bit scary. So I wrote one short story. I don't know if I'll do anything with it. It's kind of like a dystopian fantasy type thing. Yeah, I actually haven't read it since I wrote it, which was early this year. So maybe it's good enough to post somewhere. I'm not sure. All right, goal 7, do yoga 24 times. And then I had kind of unofficially decided that I wasn't going to do more than 2 a month. So I was really good for about 4 months here, and then I just lost interest. I enjoy yoga, but I stopped working out after my layoff, just kind of completely. And then when I did start working out again, I was doing a lot of running. And I could have done yoga on my off days, but I just didn't feel like it. So overall, I feel like this is a really good goal. It just didn't quite happen. But this is progress. This is more yoga than I probably did the year before, but I still feel good about setting this goal, and I think it was very achievable. Quarterly life experiment videos. This was born out of a sort of YouTube obsession of mine, which is watching people make drastic changes to their lives and seeing how it goes. And I wanted to do some of that, and I kind of did. I actually filmed a whole video about my diet and exercise plans for the first 8 weeks of the year, and I don't even think I published it. Maybe I did. I can certainly check after I film this, but I was worried it would come off as very, like, even though I know that these are my goals for my body and my lifestyle, I worried it would come off as, like, praising, very fit, very thin bodies. And so I didn't really want to publish that one when I was all done with it. But that's kind of besides the point. The real issue with this goal was I didn't have a plan for what I was gonna do or how I was gonna do it. So what I ended up doing was kind of picking things I was doing anyway and just trying to make a video about it. And it ended up being kind of haphazard, not very well planned out, and I just didn't do it every quarter of the year. And that was another thing, was I don't like tying goals to certain points of the year, maybe with the exception of NaNoWriMo, because that's sort of an external thing. But I found that what it did was make it very hard to stay on schedule if I got behind at all. That's another little thing I wanted to take away. My next goal was to do 10 hours a month at least on my game company work. This one ended up kind of getting out of my hands as well, because I'm not the only person working on this company. There are three partners and then a handful of contractors that we occasionally work with. But basically what happened is we tried to pivot. It didn't quite work out. Some of the members are not invested in this project because of other things happening in their lives. Could have tried to fulfill this goal, but it wouldn't have, like, if we didn't have goals as a company, if we didn't have a specific thing that we needed to be working on, me coming up with something to work on may not have been valuable. So I did pretty good. If we look over here, this is where I tried to track monthly progress on my goals and it just kind of fizzled out, but I did pretty good the first few months of the year, and then chaos hit, basically. The 2020 chaos struck, and it kind of fell apart from there. But I ended up retroactively canceling this goal because so much of it was out of my hands, and I just think I shouldn't have set a goal around something that I don't have control over. All right, goal number 10, was a strength goal. I wanted to be able to meet these specific benchmarks, which I think were reasonable. I do think I could have met these. If we look over here, starting in January, I was doing about 60 pounds for each of them. And then I had increased all of my lifts by about 10 pounds in a couple months. So I think I could have kept increasing if I had maintained a strength habit. I just got so overwhelmed with everything, with lockdown, my layoff, with Twitch streaming, that I just sort of stopped exercising for a while. And so that's why that one didn't get done. I'm not sure if I would set this goal differently. I think it was pretty good. The way I set it at the beginning, I think it was very achievable and very specific. I like that about strength training, is that the numbers are so tangible, and like maybe you can't guarantee that your muscle is gonna grow the way you think it will, but I feel like this was a pretty conservative goal, and if I had been lifting regularly, I think I could have easily made these numbers. Goal number 11 was to reach net worth 0, and this one was pretty chaotic as well. I remember talking about this in a video when it was relevant, after lockdown started. The stock market just completely plummeted. All the stonks went right down. It was a very bad, scary situation. But, as I mentioned, I think in probably April when I was talking about this, it did recover. We're gonna probably still see some drastic movements in the stock market as a whole, but in general, as far as history goes, things tend to be okay in the long run. It did not look like I was going to make this goal when the stock market had plummeted like 20% or whatever it was. And then I actually accomplished this a few months ago. Like, it didn't even take the whole year. So I feel pretty good about this. It was just a combination of getting very lucky that my layoff was not longer than it was. The fact that I was able to find a new job is partially hard work, and it is partially luck. And then finally for this page, donate $20 to charity. This one did not go as planned, as you might expect, because once the layoff hit, I was already a little bit behind, just thinking that I had time to recover. We had a lot of big house expenses hit at the beginning of the year, so I was not donating as generously as I wanted to. And then my layoff, a couple more months of no charitable giving, because if I don't have the money coming in, it's not really a responsible idea to send money out unless I have to. So at the time of this recording, which is mid-December, kind of late mid-December, I got $284.69 donated to charity. This is a couple different ones, including the Oregon Food Bank, Join, which is a local charity around supporting people who are homeless, and World Builders, which works in very, very poor countries to help establish better infrastructure for families. So those are the 3 charities that I've donated to this year, and I do have about $150 scheduled to donate. I was planning to do it on my birthday, which is in a couple weeks. I guess actually now it's only about a week away, 10 days. But either way, that will put me at $434 about, which is, given everything that happened, it's not bad. It's not bad. Certainly, as long as you're giving with intention and you've researched the charities that you're giving to, any amount of charitable donation is better than nothing. So I feel really good about this, and I want to do better next year. Now that I am relatively stable, knock on wood, hope that doesn't change. But I want to try to tackle this again next year and do a little bit better. So now we get into more of the fun stuff. The rest of my goals for 2020 were around doing a certain number of things, and I wanted to track all of those things, so I made these spreads. The first one was books. I wanted to read more, and specifically, I wanted to read more new books because I found I was reading a lot of books that were very old, that had been on my read list for a very long time. The thing that kind of triggered this idea was that whenever the Goodreads Book Awards come around, I haven't read any of the books because they're all like books that were released in that year. So my goals were to read 30 books, 10 of which are new releases, and then do close readings of 6 books. And a close reading is just something I do where I read slower than normal and I take notes as I'm reading to try and figure out, like, this is why I think the author chose to write it this way. Like, take some notes about how the characters are developing and how that's portrayed. It's sort of like reading as a writer and trying to learn from the books that I'm reading. But the close readings take much longer, so I try to not do very many of them because it sort of slows everything else down. As I'm filming this now, I have read 17 books, so a little over half of my goal, 7 of which were new releases, so I did pretty good on that one. And I have done 3 close readings, which I'm just realizing now. I'm not actually done with Seven Blades in Black, but I have it marked as a close reading because I started it as a close read. And this one I actually read last year. I've already read this book, but because the sequel came out this year, I wanted to do close readings of both, to not only get, the writing lessons, but also series lessons. I'm very interested in how to write compelling series. But there's my book list. I definitely want to have similar goals for next year. I'm not sure if I'll change the numbers or just keep trying, because I feel like I could have read 30 books this year if I had just been a little bit more intentional about picking out new books and actually sitting down to read. And then on to this goal, as a supporting element of my indie game development dreams, I wanted to make 40 pieces of 3D art. So just like a character model or an object. You can see in here I made a deer, I made a little cabin, I made a character I'm calling the Forest Guardian, I made a spinning wheel, and I actually added an animation so it does like the little pedals move and the wheel turns, and it just looks really nice. But as far as this goal goes, I made 18 3D models, but I had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of this was done during my game development month of streaming, and it's just a nice way to be creative, and then to take the product of that creativity and make it really come to life with animation or by like putting it in a game scene. I really had a lot of fun with this. So that's all for the goals specifically. I do have some trackers in here that I set up that I'm going to talk about. I really, really struggle to actually fill in the yearly trackers, but I love them so much. Like the idea of having an entire year of data, metrics, numbers, laid out in a nice pretty spread. It's just too appealing. Like I can't stop setting these up, even though like for this one I just filled in the last like 3 months retroactively because I did not keep up with it when it was happening. But basically we have meditation on this side. I did not do a lot of meditation this year, and I thought I did. I thought I had set a goal for January and kept up pretty well, but looking back, like you can see, I did a couple weeks of it and then I completely stopped. I tried to pick it up again in May, completely stopped. I do want to try and find a meditation practice that works for me. And then we get to sleep and headaches. I have not been consistently tracking headaches near the end here, but you can see I kept up pretty well for the first half of the year. We had this big marathon of headaches at the beginning as I quit sugar and caffeine at the same time and sort of went through a withdrawal period. And then also you can see all of these yellow squares are really, really bad. That means I slept less than 6 hours, so like 5.5-ish usually is what it came down to. This is so bad. A human person shouldn't do this. I need to be sleeping a lot more. And then when you look at the yellow with the green, that means I slept less than 7 hours. I mean, it's no wonder I'm tired all the time. Tired and stressed out. And I've been trying to figure out how to improve my sleep. There are a lot of things I could and should be doing that I'm just not doing. And I need to figure out how to properly either incentivize those activities or just try to convince myself that sleeping is worth it, even if I feel like I should be doing something else. Because this is not good. This is really not good. And we have currently inked pens. This is nice. I always like looking at these. There's not much to say about this one. I'll just tilt it a little bit so you can see some of the sheen and some of the shimmer at different angles. But for next year, I'll probably just draw a line and just keep going with this one and then make a new one just like it when I run out of space. And then here I have some sort of monthly recap pages. I didn't do these for the whole year. I think I did March and then I stopped. But I did whole videos on these, so if you want to check those out, I think they should be in the Plan With Me playlist somewhere for the month that they were in. I did also set this up a little bit later in the year, and I know that this is not how Tetris really works. Like, all these lines would be cleared if it was actually Tetris, but I couldn't get away from Tetris. I don't know who came up with this initially. I've seen it on Pinterest a lot and on Instagram. The word Tetris just works so well, and then the blocks are really fun to fill in. We have a pretty beefy loan that we've been paying back. We've got a long ways to go, but we took a chunk out of it this year, and just gonna keep trying, keep paying it off. Eventually we'll get there. It'll be good. I had a couple of little experiments. Well, I guess just one little experiment with like a 12-week year type of thing, but shorter. I didn't really keep up with this spread, as you can see. My review for March, and then that was it. So we can see there's plenty of room left in this little book. So when I start planning for next year, I'll just flip this page, because this one has some, what do you call this? I closed the book when it was still wet, so the ink got on this page. So I'll just do that, and then put any new yearly spreads right here. But yeah, that's kind of the recap. And now I'm just gonna tally everything up. Basically what I did was I tallied up all the things I got done, and then I tallied up all of the like total tasks within all of my goals. And then I found that I got between 52 and 54% of my goals done, based on whether I make a percentage of each goal and average them, or if I just add everything into one big pool. I got over half of my goals for 2020 done, which seems pretty good, especially when you consider what a crazy year it was. I feel like I had a successful year, and I feel like I kind of thrived in the face of utter chaos. Not only that, but you know, with the 50% goals that I got done, I also did several things this year that I didn't plan to do. I had no idea that they were even on my radar. And I just want to talk about some of those to close this out, you know, leave us on a real high note. So one of the things I did this year was I started Twitch streaming in April. I became a Twitch affiliate in about June, and since then I've been keeping a pretty steady stream schedule alongside my full-time job and just growing like a little community of friends, and that's been really nice. I don't know, like, it's just really nice. It's a nice way to maintain a community and also like share the things that I really enjoy with other people. Like, streaming a game is so much more engaging, I feel like, than just playing it by myself, because I have friends who are interested in the game, who want to talk about it with me. Another thing I did this year that I had not realized I was going to do this year is I found a new fully remote job centered around fitness, and it's something I'm really proud to do. I feel like supporting fitness, even like as an app developer, I don't have real control over people's health, but I feel like I'm helping. And not only that, but I got a promotion in just a few months. So they hired me, and I did my best work, and it was enough to get a promotion pretty quick. So that's another thing that I'm really proud of that I did this year. Another thing I did this year that I kind of planned to do, but I hadn't set a goal for it, was to replace the awful yellow walls in my office. I hated them, and especially being home so much, it just really drove me over the edge. So that's something I'm really happy about. And then my last thing I want to talk about that I did this year that I just didn't know I was going to do, was I started running 4 times a week, 3 times a week for months, and I improved my mile time I started around 18 minutes if I was trying really hard, and I got it down to about 15. I managed to do a 14-minute mile a couple times, but that was like top speed for me. So I cut my mile time by 3 minutes in just a couple months, and in line with that, I also ran my first 5K. So I reached a lot of these running goals without even considering at the beginning of the year that I would ever take up running. So that was a really nice thing. It shows me a lot about like my physical abilities and my physical limitations. It's a nice new way to challenge myself and improve my cardiovascular health, which is something that I think has needed attention for a long time. So I'm going to wrap up that video here. My next video is going to be an actual flip through of my monthly journal with a little bit more of a focus on the actual journal spreads and how they worked or didn't work, what sort of monthly things I want to keep and what sort of monthly things I don't want to keep or do again. But this video was all about the goals, the actions that I took, and how I want to prepare to take more action or better action in the next year. So I just want to reiterate, I'm really, really proud of what I did this year. And I think if you're like me and you really enjoy, checking off those boxes, it can be very easy to look at a spread where half the boxes go unchecked and think you didn't do enough. But I want to encourage looking at things from a different angle. Like, think about all the things you did do, and instead of seeing empty checkboxes as things you didn't do, think of them as things you could do still. They're opportunities. There's no rule book where we have to totally close out everything at the end of the year and like take a grade. Like, there's no one grading us except ourselves. I want to encourage everyone who sets goals. I know goals in this sort of perspective don't work for everybody, but for people like me who are very motivated by specific goals, by numerical goals, just be kind with yourself. Focus on what you did and not what you didn't. I'm really proud of what I did, and I'm really proud of what you did. And I want all of us to just sort of bask in that nice reflective glow of what we did, even if it wasn't what we thought we would do. So thank you so much for watching this video. I learned a lot, and I had a lot of fun looking back. I'm gonna have even more fun flipping through the whole notebook and talking about that. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know, what are you most proud of that you did this year? No matter how big or how small, or if you plan to do it at the beginning of the year, or if it just kind of happened, like a lot of the things that I am proud of this year just kind of happened. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.